Hi everybody, we're up to part 22 of this marriage covenant where we are looking at communication, and this is communication part 2. And in part 2 we're going to look at 3 aspects of communication. Firstly, body language, second, tone, and then thirdly, the words. And we're going to see that body language makes up 55% of our overall communication. The tone in which we communicate things, and even the tone which our body language gives off, makes up 38%. And then words make up 7% of our overall communication. It's important that we are developing and growing in all 3, even though they are not weighted the same. And so let's have a look at body language. As we've said, 55% of our communication is in the form of body language. That's 50% over or more than what it is to be communicating. This is a significant percentage that we must be aware of and learn and come into the reality of what we're actually giving off. If we want to be great communicators, then it is essential that we communicate well with our body language. The reality is the way we communicate with our bodies can communicate so many things and give others insights into how we feel, what we're thinking, what we believe about certain situations or circumstances, what's being said by the other person, facts and truths. Just overall, our body language can give off so many things. Even facial expressions, when someone says something, the facial expression that we give off is communicating something. And one can tell from our body language just how interested or disinterested we might be in a particular topic or person, or what someone is sharing. And how engaged we are. If we're sharing with our husband or our wife or just someone in general, we want to know that they respect us enough to be tuning in and listening. If someone is drifting off or looking out that way or looking out that way or looking at their phone or looking at their watch or tapping their fingers on their knee, it's communicating something to us that they're really not interested in what we're saying, and it's disrespectful. And so body language plays a huge part in communication. And this is critical when it comes to our marriage covenant with one another. We want to see our husband or our wife fully engaged with their body language, demonstrating that they are fully engaged and invested in interest in what we are sharing, what we're saying, because we're sharing our heart with them. We're sharing what's on top for us. And so what we are actually doing says the most about what we are communicating. It is the demonstration of our lives that speaks the most about our communication. So the second aspect is tone. The tone that sits behind the words we speak makes up 38% of our communication. And as I said, we can give off a certain tone with our body language. If I sit there cross-armed like this, then I'm very guarded. My tone is I'm guarded in the conversation or the relationship with the person. The tone we use with someone says so much about how we feel about someone or something. The tone can set the temperature in the atmosphere to which we're about to engage in. So if we're angry, if we dismiss something, that tone helps set the atmosphere, or it destroys the atmosphere that healthy communication can be brought up in. The tone can either completely complement what we are saying or completely contradicts what we are saying. Same with body language. An example of this is when someone says they are really excited and passionate about something, and yet the tone in which they communicate is downcast, very melancholy, and really it doesn't have any life to it. It's lifeless. the tone and what is being said don't align with one another, which is also a part of that body language communication. So our words and our excitement, what we're giving off, the tone, don't align. And as I've said, this can be exactly the same with body language. Our tone can create a sense of expectation, anticipation, and excitement, or it creates a sense of dread, of fear, or defensiveness in our spouse and others. In other words, the tone sets the mood for great communication. So we've got body language coming in at 55%, we've got tone at 38%, and the remaining percentage is made up of words, which is 7%. So the words we speak make this percentage up. And as I said, just because it only rates at 7% doesn't make communicating with words any less important, as we have looked at in the previous week, because all these parts go into making and developing great communication, even though they might be weighted differently. We must be conscious to be aware of all three and be growing and developing in all three if we want to have good communication and a healthy relationship. We may have great body language, we may have great tone, but the words we choose, they let us down. And as we mentioned last week, that this tongue can set things ablaze. The tongue sets the course of our life for good or for bad, for positive or for negative, for what's possible, for what's impossible, for healthy, life-giving relationships or destructive relationships with one another, with our spouse, with our loved ones, and just whoever in general. Using the correct words is essential for developing a healthy communication. So we've covered three aspects of communication: body language, tone, and words. They are weighted differently, but all three are important, are an essential for healthy communication, which helps develop a great relationship with your spouse and others. So some questions for us to grapple with. Before reading this resource or hearing about this, what order will you have placed these three aspects in of communication, and why? Which way around do you think the percentages would have gone? How does the order you would have picked differ from this order? What does body language and tone, why does body language and tone carry such high percentages? Which area would you say are you strongest in? And which area do you believe you need the greatest growth in? So some questions to grapple with. You want to drop me a line, feel free to do so. I'd love to dialogue with you. Next resource, we're going to be looking at active listening and the power of active listening, being quick to hear and slow to speak. We'll see you soon.